Phil, I think maybe we could just introduce yourself. You've quite a esteemed heritage pedigree.
Is that a polite way of saying I'm old?
I think so. We've got a good, strong track record. You've done some very interesting things. So yeah, I think it'd be good to get to you a little bit first.
Yeah, no, well, thank you. For those of you who I don't know, my name is Phil Cowdell, and I was a publicist for a while, and then joined WPP. So worked for the Emperor for 20 years, and ran brands like Mediacom and Mindshare. And it's funny, when the Emperor goes, the people around him are suitable to go. So there was a bit of a change, which led me to do other things, and down that path led me to join Channel Factory. So I'm their Chief Strategy Officer, which is great. It basically means I do that vision, long-term stuff, and I don't have to do all the hard-term, sort of short-term selling stuff that the team here have to do. So I can do the fluffy bits. And just to introduce Channel Factory, we're a mission-driven, minority-owned media company, and we basically do two things. We categorize video content, and then we activate video ads across social media, primarily on YouTube, because you can, and to agree across the other social platforms, which hopefully will catch up one day, where you can actually understand content and matching more appropriately, because I'm a big believer in content is king again. You just got to be able to do it on every platform.
I completely agree. And this type of question, I'm slightly self-conscious asking, because it sounds like, oh, you're your partner and you're setting him up for a sales pitch. But I think there's quite a few companies going after the social YouTube space. And I think people don't always understand how they approach things. And I'm not going to ask you to explain how your competitors go about things, but how do
some of them are in the room. Hey there, guys.
Lovely people too. And I think it's always
it's family. That's all.
It always is. And everyone's so interconnected. It's people. It's always a friendly industry. And I'm always surprised at the extent to which partners, supposed competitors, are actually working together.
Can you believe people actually move between the two companies? Can't imagine such a thing. How many here? Hands up, those of you who've been in the multiple versions. We have at least one over here. We got two over on this table. And if we had a bigger group, we'd have a few more of those. So the whole point is we're here to make a difference to the industry. And frankly, if I wear a blue hat or a red hat, I don't care, as long as collectively we make a difference. And I think that point of collective responsibility is something we've got to get to. And it's different from the individual cell. It's about, we're trying to clean up the media landscape. Hands up here, anyone who doesn't ever look at social media. It influences our lives. It influences our kids. Well, not yours yet at 7 months, but by the time he's at 18 months, absolutely. Our parents, everybody else. By the way, do we think it's helpful or harmful? I look at social media and I think there's some really helpful bits, and all these sort of, people who've created new communities and landscapes and opportunities to communicate and create content, but it's really harmful. Everything from cyberbullying to abuse to mis and disinformation, and there's lots of things that are bad. And I think if we can all make it a safer place and make it more positive, I don't frankly care who does it, as long as we all do it and we do it together, and we drive more positivity, we constrain the bad stuff, amplify the good stuff. So from that, I think we've all got a common mission and purpose here. So I would raise a glass to everybody who's on that mission to drive positivity and inclusion across media. Please.
It's beautiful, Phil. Beautiful.
He's tearing up now. He's tearing up. He's saying
the real tears.
It's the suntan lotion again. Come on, look.
But I mean, it'd be good to just go into Channel Factory, like what you guys are, and the methodology for, how you.
No, I'm not going to do that. Oh, okay. Okay, there's two things you can do. You got to categorize content, then you got to activate. Our friends from IAS Double Verify Moat, they do the categorization thing, but don't activate. And then we got some people in the room here who activate and don't necessarily categorize. And I think the magic's when you do both, because shouldn't the left and the right hand work together? So we categorize and we activate. Now, my personal mission, if I'm allowed to share my personal mission for a moment, we can't give people the excuse of being fat, lazy, and happy. Yeah? And what I mean by that is you look at some of the things that have happened in our industry, and I'm going to be respectful to WFA and GARM, and Rob Rakowitz is a great friend, but the pursuit of brand safety and suitability was like, oh, we're all good now. And I'm going, yeah, you're all good, but by the way, does that mean you exclude people of color from your advertising? Does that mean you exclude LGBTQ people from your advertising? Does that mean anyone who talks about climate change gets excluded? Respectfully, that's bullshit. I have literally seen lists with all of those still in it today. Imagine there was a shareholder meeting and you go in your shareholder and say, open questions from the floor. I've got, 1 question, so I've got 1 share. And you hand up and say, by the way, dear Mr. Fizzy Drink Company or whatever one you happen to be, are you happy that you don't advertise and you intentionally exclude people of color and people of sexual preference from your advertising? Can you imagine how that would go down? But that's the reality of what happens, because it's built into keywords, it's built into a way to categorize content, and it's built into, we're all good. You're far from good. So what I implore all of us to do, and my sort of mission, and one of the reasons that I joined Tony and the crew at Channel Factory was, let's sort of lift the lid and look under it and realize there's some bad stuff out there that people are like fat, lazy, and happy, and it ain't good enough. We can all be ignorant until somebody tells us. Once somebody's told us there's an issue, we're then either part of the problem or part of the solution. And we choose, don't we? We choose. Once you know, you've got to decide which side of that fence do you want to be on. And for us, and I think everyone in this room, we want to be on that side, where once we know there's an issue, collectively we'll make a difference. And by the way, AI, because we have to talk about AI is part of doing that. So, but this whole, and I think the point that Andrew made was everyone's going AI. Well, no, I'm talking about generative AI and large language models. Who's seen the Gartner hype cycle? If not, we'll recirculate to everyone who hasn't. You have all of that inflated expectations, and then you had the valley of disappointment, and eventually the plateau of productivity. Check out where the latest one is, and you'll see all the things we're talking about, and lots of them are currently on the inflated hype, and they're going to be like the roller coasters scooping down the other side, where they're showing it's bullshit and it doesn't work. And then eventually we'll get to this plateau of productivity. So when we think about AI, go AI, machine learning, using it 2014, and our friends at Silverpush, etc., using it. We use it to categorize content. You've got to do it at scale. You've got to use it operationally. It's really important. You can improve productivity. How do you categorize 1 billion videos on YouTube if you don't have AI? You can't do it. So that stuff I think we're pretty stable with. It's the Gen AI stuff that worries the heck out of me. Okay. We did this study the other day. It was interesting. We took 2 of the platforms. Let's just pick on ChatGPT and let's pick on Bard. So we're looking to see what's their level of bias. So first question was, did they come out, we analyzed the range of their content, left wing, right wing. Hands up here who thought ChatGPT and Bard were right wing, conservative. Who thinks they're a bunch of liberal lefties? Yep, they both came out as liberal lefties. What's interesting is that actually, which one do you think was more extreme? Do we think Bard was more extreme or ChatGPT in terms of the screaming left and verging on socialism? Can we get a shout out for ChatGPT? Oh, it was actually Bard. And so we look at this stuff and go, we did this study with some clever people in Stanford University and New York University. And it's funny, think about it. So why do we have that we've actually got this bias built in to the way this thing's coming out? And people are taking it as true and gospel. They're just going to use it without understanding context. And that's where I get worried about AI. Do you remember when we all had calculators and then we stopped actually doing mental math? How many of our kids have been there and they can take their calculator into school? And they're sitting in a maths test, they're allowed to use the calculator. And you say, tell me 15% of 70. And they look at you like, duh. If you can't do the mental math, you shouldn't use the calculator. What worries me is if you can't do proper media planning and buying, you shouldn't use AI. It's the same thing. If you can't manually do it in your head, you shouldn't be relying on a machine to do it because you don't know when it's wrong. So I think that's the thing we've all got to really, really watch out for.
Yeah, I'm still getting over it, but my sheepishness when you use the term fat, lazy, and happy, I was just like, whoa, it's a general thing. It's a general thing. Okay.
I tell you, with what you do with a 7-year-old running after, where you're going to be on holiday, it would never apply to you.
That's my excuse. I'm still treating the pandemic as an excuse as well. It's I think not quite valid anymore. So how are you guys using AI? And are you seeing, when is it useful and when is it?
It's fabulous with big numbers. So there's no way, as I say, 1 billion videos, 6, 7, 8 billion channel creators. You could never do that in your head or on a piece of paper. You got to use a machine for that. So I think wave one, and I think everyone here who works for us and on our peer group will go, wave one, we use keywords and we categorize content with keywords. We had to use machine learning. Got it? Great. Then we're going, what do I get in a video where people don't use words? There's a whole genre, but I didn't realize there's a genre of videos where people drive in cars and take videos of prostitutes. They don't say, oh, look, there's a prostitute, so nothing comes up to say there's a keyword, so nobody says it's unsuitable, so nobody excludes it. And then suddenly you go, oh, that shouldn't be in my travel list. We've been there, haven't we? Thank you. The lady down there, it's like, duh. And then you look at music videos. So I think what we're doing, wave 1, machine learning, got it. Wave 2 was interesting stuff. You go, semantics. What do we mean by the sentence? Emmanuel Archo. Anyone who has come across Emmanuel Archo? Eagles linebacker, New York Times best-selling author, etc. Got a great channel. It's called Uncomfortable Conversations with a Black Man. Interview with Barack Obama. By the way, he was the first black president of America, if we remember him. So black icon talking to first black president, and the theme was how to cure racism. Nope, blocked. Why was it blocked? Because they used the racism word, and all I can see in my dumb machine is racism. It should be compulsory viewing. So semantics, how to cure. So all of our systems now have to understand the meaning and the semantics. A bit of image recognition would be nice when we're looking at prostitutes in Patpong Road, and also a little bit of IAB category matching. By the way, IAB category matching, fabulous. You know, prostitution's the oldest profession, but it doesn't count as an IAB 3.0 consumer category. Quite ironic. But anyway, so our evolution of really AI and machine learning is going beyond dumb, simplified, monodirectional into multimodal. And you can only do that at precision and scale and volume when you've got machines. But I'll pick up on Andrew's point. You've got to have human moderation as well. So machines do it. Easy answer, difficult answer, don't know. Don't know cash, push it to the humans. So you've still got to have a human involvement. And I would argue it's like human oversight.
When we were speaking before, you mentioned there's 3 biases in AI, but it might be good to touch on those. And
yeah, big. It's funny. I won't name them because it might be embarrassing, but they said, we've got a new AI product. And I said, that's fabulous. And I'm like, how are you addressing the biases? And they said, what? What about everyone heard of a hallucination? Yes. Anyone seen crazy stuff? Well, we had some examples before. So the 3 that we identify all the time, the first one is the programmer bias. Literally the way the program is composed and the way the lines of code are put in has a pre-written bias. The second one is dataset bias. I could build a model that would justify that, frankly, Hitler was the best thing that happened for Germany in the 20th century. We all know that's abhorrent, but depending on the data set I choose and identify, I could come with that as that's the answer. No, it's not. The third one is the user bias. And I don't know how many of you have classified yourself by your own subconscious biases yet. Hopefully most of us don't have active biases because we've been trained by HR not to, but we all have subconscious biases, and there's about 180 now identified. Great book on subconscious bias. You should have a look at it. And what it is it frames the way we interpret what's around us. So I'll give you 3 little examples. Programmer bias. I was the other day, I decided to build a ChatGPT model, a mini me, a little Phil. A little Phil. So if I wasn't around, they could get the answer. And so you know when you get the prompt on ChatGPT to put your little visual icon up and draw a little picture? I thought, I won't have Phil, it won't look right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, responsible business. Guess what image it gave me for responsible business? A white man in a suit carrying a briefcase. That is what it believes to be responsible business. There was a tree in the background. I think that was the responsible bit, was the tree in the background. And then I'm going, no, that's not what I want. I want gender neutral, responsible business. What do you think they did? Anyone gonna guess? Guess. Did it change? They took the man's jacket off. It was still a white man in a dark suit, jacketless, with still had the tie on, still holding the black briefcase, still with a bit of a tree in the background. And you're going, seriously? It took like 6 iterations of going, no, really, until it actually came up with something that featured a woman. There's a fabulous book I want to share with you that, am I allowed to keep talking? And there's a
I'll worry something on later. I'm prepared for this today mentally, yeah.
So there's this fabulous book, and it's called Invisible Women. And I'm glad to see the representation. You know the book, orange cover, it's fabulous, brilliant. It goes through all these industries going, women viewed in data industries made by men. Going to give you you could go through vague of categories, drug testing, let's test them on men, not women. Race tested on men or women. Let's think about 94% of medical textbooks have the male form as the default. As far as I'm aware, the main thing that changes is genitalia. In all the bits that didn't have genitalia or Adam's apple, they still use the male body. But the worst one, the most egregious one, if I may, Automotive industry. Why is it that women have a 43% higher incidence of critical injury in a car crash than men? 43%, that's not a rounding error. That is willful negligence. And the answer is crash test dummies. So when they thought, we'll do crash test dummies, what did they look like? They looked more like him than me. They were tall Adonis figures with broad shoulders and narrow hips and musculature and whatever. So they thought, that's the human form in male Adonis. If any of us could be like that, we'd be very happy, wouldn't we? You're going to be on the beach next week.
You've backtracked nicely from fat, lazy and happy.
He's going to be there on the beach next week. And so they're going, okay, so they got the crash test dummy. It's the purple Adonis. It looks like this Greek marble statue. They put it in the driver's seat. They crash it and they work out what happens with seatbelts and airbags. Then they go, oh, maybe some people get in cars that aren't men. So you know what they did? They took the Adonis crash test male dummy. I think male and dummy is nice to have next to each other, and let's not go there. Do I get a yes from the ladies in the audience? Thank you very much. So what they did is to make the woman, they took the man and made it 80%. So by the way, ladies, you are officially 80% of a man in the eyes of the automotive industry. And what did they do next? Where did they put it in the car? In the passenger seat. So women, you're 80% of a man and you're not allowed to drive. Okay? This is what I mean by a data-driven world that makes any of the DEI categories invisible. And let's do it at the broadest level. Let's start women. Don't even get down to start thinking about race and discrimination and all these others. And let's get into things of disability, etc. As an industry, we shape with the default of data. So when you think about the three biases, the programmer is going to think about it in most cases in their own worldview. The data set is going to be defined by what's available. And the third point is the user is going to use and project their own subconscious bias. You put those three things together and you run AI random without human intervention, we've all got trouble. So that's what I mean by the three biases. Do I get an amen for that? Amen. Thank you very much. Right.
Got the full preacher mode now.
Hey, you're lucky I've got this, otherwise I'd be walking around out there. Yeah, it's not good to see me hobble.
But as an industry, we've a great habit and a long track record of creating things that have unintended consequences.
Brand safety.
Yes, there's many others. But I mean, I'm curious about with a bit of foresight that maybe, while we are having, pushes on various fronts, with varying degrees of success, I think we've sort of gone through DEI. But I mean, things like sustainability, is there the
sustainability? Did everyone get their email from Rod Rakowitz yesterday with a new GARM sustainability guide? You should all get it, download it, GARM guidance, WFA blessed, lovely guideline, voluntary, etc. I sat on one of the sustainability working parties and I asked the dumb question. I'm going, are we dancing on the head of a pin here? And what I meant by that is, are we focusing on the big stuff that's really making the mega difference, or are we trying to do the little incy-bincy bits over here? And, their scope is constrained. So I think they've done a great job. But when I think about it, I go, okay. AI, fabulous. Everyone says we're going to use it to optimize our media plans. Lovely. That's a good thing, isn't it? Yep. How much carbon am I using to build my AI model? And then how much carbon am I using to optimize my model? So how much carbon have I used to create the model to tell me to optimize my plan by 1 percentage point? Have I created more of a carbon nightmare by running the model than I have of the 1, 2, 3% improvement I made on the optimization of my plan? So at the moment, if I think about respectfully Scope 3, Sadara, etc., 550 and these guys, they tell you about the score in your media plan. It's a bit like being a Tesla driver and going, oh, I'm very virtuous. Anyone here Tesla drivers? Oh, no, come on, you can't all be ashamed. Please, there have to be some more Tesla drivers. No. Okay, I'm a Tesla driver, as well as a Jeep driver. Don't even get me started on the emissions from my old Jeep. But anyway, so on the Tesla, what's interesting is I'm very virtuous. None of that, I don't even have a tailpipe. Gosh, imagine I don't even have a tailpipe. Nothing horrible is coming out of the car. Okay, what happened to the nickel mining to create the batteries that you run? And by the way, where do you charge your car? Yeah, I charge it in America. Where does most power in America come from? Coal-fired power stations. So actually, I'm doing more to destroy the planet by developing the electricity I'm using to charge my vehicle than by driving around and not emitting anything out the gas pipe. Whereas, how many Nordics friends have we got here? We got some Nordics. We got Nordics in the house? Yay. Look at the initiatives happening with hydroelectric power, with the wind farms, with tidal work, and the closed network you've now got coming into Nordhavn in Copenhagen, your own generation of your own closed systems, that you're going, well, it changes the game because you're actually developing fossil-free fuel electricity. You can be pretty virtuous. So anyone here said, I've got a Tesla and I live in Nordhavn or I live in Oslo, you get a thumbs up. But the rest of us in the States, you're going to struggle. This also relates to AI and processing power. Anyone see last week the announcement from Microsoft? Their consumption of electricity for this year is going up by, how much do we think? Microsoft, they're probably a bit of a big tech company, so they probably use quite a bit of tech and therefore use some. So what, at this stage in their life, do we think they're like going up by 5%, maybe 10%? No, their electricity consumption is going up by 31% because of AI. And then you go, where's your server farm? Virginia. Not much hydroelectric power and tidal power around Virginia, is there? No, so you're using more coal-fired power stations. It's a problem. So I agree that we should all think about sustainability, absolutely, and I have a short 3-letter version of it because I'm concerned that everyone's gets so caught up on the number, the numbers are meaningless and the actions are facile. The 3 letters that come to us is AAA. First one is audit. Know what your profile is as an individual, as a company. I'm 132 trees. As a company, and also know what it is as a product and service. Draw the line, and then you do the next 2. As I have teenage boys, and the shorthand, most of them, is avoid doing dumb shit. So the second A of the 3 A's is avoid. Avoid wastage. As soon as you avoid wastage, you reduce carbon wastage. So just avoid doing dumb stuff. I'll give you there was a credit card campaign we looked at. I'm not going to say who did it, and they're not in the room. You're okay. 18% of the impressions were to kids. As far as I'm aware, kids can't sign a credit card application. So not delivering 18% to kids would improve the carbon footprint by 18%. Don't get me started on an example from a Ring doorbell the other day. 38% of Americans don't own a home, but they wanted national coverage, all adults, cheapest CPM. Don't get me started. But you look at this and go, okay, how do we think about the first A is audit, draw a line. Second A is avoid doing dumb stuff. And then the third A is amplify. There's going to be this currency which is going to be called ROI per gram of carbon. If I can do better stuff, good old-fashioned media planning, I can actually get a 3x ROI for that gram of carbon than dumb media planning. So in my mind, just go back to the things we're old enough to have trained and learned on and actually do proper media planning to engage with the right audience at the right time, in the right format, at the wrong kite text to elicit the right outcome. So my view on sustainability is numbers are great, but they're all wrong. But directionally, it's okay. Take the 3 A's. Audit, so you know your baseline. Second one, A, choose what you're going to avoid. Don't do dumb stuff. And the third A is amplify. So what you do, make a bigger return for it. Simple as that.
And with you guys, your focus on YouTube, I think an awful lot of the edge AI generated content is going to, the first place it's going to end up is probably YouTube.
Good thing or bad thing?
Well, let's get into that. Is it a good thing? I mean, will it, in what ways can it be positive, or, in what ways can we see downsides like misinformation, disinformation? Maybe it's simply putting me in an England jersey in a video and, shaming me in front of my friends.
Your family would never talk to you again, would they?
Yeah, maybe it's more serious political stuff. I mean, it's a year, I think 49% of
49% of the world going to the polls. First time in human history.
Yeah, it's amazing. So, what do you think is going to be the impact on the creators?
So breaking that down a few different ways. One, anyone looking at large language models today, by the way, the clue's in the title, it's large language models. Anyone seen a large video model yet? Nope. I've seen some stuff on banners. I've seen animated banners and some DCO stuff, but making videos, not so much yet. It's a bit of a challenge and it's still a little bit far out. Oops. That would be very ungreen of me to litter here, so somebody can grab that for me. So there is a role for it, but in social media, what I see is that it's a democratization step. In the days when the clients that we had from the first panel had full TV studios and massive data and clever machines, they were the only ones who could make video quality, TV quality video. Now anybody can. So I think there's a democratization, But the downside of democratization is everyone can. There was a report came out yesterday. I don't know if you saw it. 50% of all influencers and creators on YouTube. Anyone want to guess how much money they earn? 50% of all of them earn less than 10 grand. My kids, they're going to have to go to college. They thought they could just be Mr. Beast and never have to be educated. But I'm going, no, half of all of them make less than 10 grand. Less than 10% of all the creators make 100 grand. So it will democratize, but it'll also, by doing it, it'll also increase competition. So the long tail will increase, but hopefully also the quality will increase. But at the moment, pure video from Gen AI is still in its infancy. So I don't think it's going to change that quickly. The bits around it to say, can I get the right insight? Can I mine the data correctly? Can I inform it? Great. And did any of you go to the Gemini presentation from Google where they were showing their new Gemini AI? And they've got a whole thing. They're going, how do I mine data? How do I segment audiences? How do I give you thought starters? And they're very key because there were some creative directors in the room because it is Cannes after all. And the creative directors go, you're taking my job. No, it's only a thought starter. We'll only give you a thought starter. AI can only do a thought starter. It can't make the ad for you. Yeah, soon it'll make the ad for you, which is why I think Martin is right and Mark Reed is wrong. And I'm sorry. But there's a deeper story that go on there, but I'm not going to share it till later for drinks. But yeah, Mark's right and Mark's wrong and Martin's right on that one.
So I asked this question to Hitesh the other day, but I'm curious. So I'm just acknowledging that in case I look like a one-trick pony. But I think it's an interesting question in terms of like which industry cohort, let's put them into the advertisers, which are a very eclectic group, so it's probably difficult to really talk about them. The agencies, publishers, broadcasters, and then you've got the ad technology companies. Who's most at risk from AI?
All of them.
Yeah.
All of them. You know that old thing, how fast you have to run not to be eaten by a grizzly bear? A yard faster than the fat bloke next to you? I'm looking this way. Anyway, a yard faster than the person next to you. You take the time, stop, put your running shoes on and go for it because the other person is going to get eaten before you are. I think we're in grizzly bear mode. So my advice, all of them are at risk and all of them have the opportunity to shine. And it depends if they know how to put their running shoes on and they know who they're running away from and what they're running towards. So you're going to see winners and losers in every category. I absolutely believe we're going to have a .com repeat burst and bubble. And NVIDIA is already showing us the way with that. So that will happen. And in most of these things, you'll end up having the plethora, all the different options. Then you get the sort of the closing, the aggregating, the merger, and the sort of, 3 to 4 agency icons. So what we've seen before in early programmatic, what we saw in brand safety, what we saw in the first sort of versions of the DSPs and sort of the inexorable rise of Trade Desk and etc. We're going to see all that all over again. Lots of money, lots of dumb money, lots of smart money. Lots of people making a short-term hit. Look where the smart money comes out and then work out what the next one is. But winners and losers all over the place. But no, stop and put your running shoes on. The biggest chance of your success is working out that you got running shoes on and you can outrun the person next to you.
Phil, that was both inspiring, informative rather, and really fantastic session. What a lovely man to have on stage. So if you give Phil...
Appreciate the opportunity. Thank you, everybody. Thank you so much.